Hi, I am Amoy Smith. I completed a bachelor's in cultural and creative industries with concentrations in international relations and cinematic and audiovisual arts in 2023. So, if you are a student who love the creative industry and want to pursue it, I would advise you guys to also build what you don't see. So, if you're here attending UE and you have creative ideas and you're not seeing it, or you see something and there's another way that it can be done or it can be enhanced, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to start something new, because you're creative, and that's how the creative industry continue to evolve, and that is how you get to do hands-on work to complement the theory-based degree that you're doing. And once more, I am Amoy Smith, proud graduate of the University of the West Indies, Mona.
The Creative Frequency Podcast is brought to you by the Institute of Caribbean Studies, under the umbrella of the Faculty of Humanities and Education at the University of the West Indies, Mona. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or wherever you can catch us. Thank you for joining us while we explore Jamaica's cultural and creative industries. My name is Rachel Ann Fenderson.
And I'm Radika Myers. Together we are
R-Squared, the co-host of the Creative Frequency Podcast. Radika, have you ever felt like you were not following your dreams? Also, did your world change once you did?
Honestly, I think I try to follow all of my dreams, and you will hear me say all of my dreams because I don't have one dream. I pride myself on being a multifaceted person with multiple interests. So once it is that, I want to do something, I go out and I get it done. And that has proven very good for me in the sense that it allows me to see that, hey, this is not actually what you really, really, really want to do, but at least I would have done it. So to say, has it changed my world? Definitely, because now I would say that I'm a very well-rounded person, and because I've gone after everything that I wanted to done, I have no regrets. I know what was for me, what was not for me, and would have had the experience. So, yeah, man, follow all of my dreams then. What about you, Rach?
Most definitely. So in my particular case, I definitely went ahead and followed my dreams all throughout undergrad when I was pursuing my bachelor's degree in English literature at Hofstra University. Big up Hofstra. I was drawing dresses and by the time I was ready to graduate, I really thought I was going to be an attorney because it was something I desired since childhood. And then I thought about it and I said, well, either I go to law school, or I go to fashion school. And then I went and I found these pamphlets in my parents' basement that my sister got me when I was about 12 years old because she saw my interest in fashion. And one of them was Parsons, and my mom still had it all these years later. I applied to Parsons and I got it, and the rest was history. And that's how my brand was formed, Pepperjack. And that's how I ended up going to school in Paris and pursuing a master's degree there, which ultimately actually brought me back home to Jamaica, West Indies. I can't help but to think of the poem A Dream Deferred by Langston Hughes. And for those who don't know, look it up. It's a brilliant poem. Okay, so Radika, what does it mean to be a sound boy? And how does one get into the technology and automotives industry?
Well, how about I let this brilliant creative I'm going to interview answer, the Director of Technology and Community Engagement, Damion Johnson, of the company S.E.T.A.S. But before I get into the interview, let's hear from Dr. Deborah Hickling-Gordon on the cultural economy.
So now we see that the products, services, and expressions of our culture and creativity, like our music, our films, our digital products, our books, and our commercials, are created and produced and distributed through our cultural and creative industries. And we see that our cultural and creative economy looks at the bigger picture. how we turn that commercial activity and our natural Talawa spirit into a diverse, structured, protected sector or economy. And then how we use that sector to develop sustainable societies. Why is it so vital for us in the Caribbean? Well, Caribbean societies at the moment are facing all sorts of threats and risks. Climate disasters, economic uncertainty, and now a whole lot more geopolitical tension. So we have to grow our economies and develop our societies to become more independent and robust. This sector, the cultural and creative sector, is our best bet for sustainable development and economic diversification at this phase of our development. And the data doesn't lie. Recent reports in Jamaica shows that the Jamaican creative economy contributes an estimated 5.1% to our GDP, and that's roughly 107 billion Jamaican dollars annually. That is higher than the global average of 3% of contribution to GDP. So suppose we were really taking it seriously, and suppose we were doing the things that you learn that you need to do in the Bachelor of Arts and of Cultural and Creative Industries. Suppose we were doing these things, we would be much further ahead.
Wow, that was a well-detailed definition of the cultural and creative economy. Now, get into this interview from my co-host, Radika Myers, as she welcomes the dreamer who made his dreams into a reality. Director of Technology and Community Engagement, Damion Johnson, of the company S.E.T.A.S.
Joining us is Damion Johnson, Director of Sound Engineering, Technological Automotive Service Limited, S.E.T.A.S. This is a company built on the power of practical problem solving. From its start in Kingston, S.E.T.A.S pioneered a mobile approach to technology and automotive repair, recognizing the need to meet customers like working mothers or elderly caregivers right where they are. Beyond business, Damion is a dedicated advocate for education, donating services to schools like Freehill Primary and George Headley Primary, and featuring on TVJ for the company's community assistance. We'll be discussing how this commitment to social responsibility and the company's mobile on-the-spot services, especially in the area of computer and laptop, hardware and software repair, has become the core driving forces behind this successful Jamaican enterprise. So to start, Damion, your career seamlessly blends expertise from sound engineering, mechanics, and IT. Could you walk us through the moment you leveraged that diverse experience to establish S.E.T.A.S and also defined your role as Director of Technology and Community Engagement?
Well, firstly, thank you for that question and good morning to everyone and thanks for having us. So for that question, there wasn't a moment. I've worked in many industries for many different employers. And I did tiling for Sandals. Also, I did auto mechanic at S&J Auto on Elliston Road. I've worked at shipping company. I also work as a disc jockey at Evolution Sound, where I run the sound and I did sound engineering there. And in all those jobs, I was called on for everything. I was called on for computer software upgrades, for camera installations, to work as an electrician, and in additional, to do the actual work I was employed to do. And that's when I noticed that, there's a need for skills for technician who was mobile and thorough.
Awesome stuff, Damion. So given Jamaica's global dominance in music, from reggae and dancehall to roots and culture to lovers rock, how does your sound engineering and technology expertise contribute to preserving or evolving Jamaica's unique sonic cultural heritage, particularly for local artists and community sound systems?
The first time I went around a sound system was in 1996. That's when my cousin Billy Slaughter had a sound called Superflex sound, and then the transit to Upsetter sound, where that sound was the smallest sound in the community. And my cousin Billy Slaughter was all about the whole quality of it, because to be a small sound, you don't really get events. And me now being a child, seeing him being around the sound system, I always wonder, what is he doing? But I never get to touch it because I didn't realize he was actually doing work and not playing around with it. And that is where now I start get the interest of it. I always just want to pull up a song, but it's not about just pulling up a song. He always play quality music. And then with his work, as I said, when he went to the bathroom, that is when I get to actually pull up that song. And the feeling that it gave to me it was like electrifying, like it was the greatest thing ever. And that pushed me more now to want to be a sound engineer. And after all of that now, the sound went out and played against the biggest sound in the community. And the smaller sound actually play much louder and cleaner than the bigger sound. So it wasn't then about that. And because of all of that, it just drive me crazy now to say, all right, sound engineering, I want to help another person to pick up this and know that, listen, sound engineering in Jamaica is a key, because everyone loves music, everyone loves sound. Rhythm is life.
Awesome stuff. Speaking of quality, your company focuses on mobile service, meeting customers where they are, like caregivers and remote workers. How does this innovative approach to service delivery addresses the socioeconomic and logistical challenges that make technology access and repair a persistent issue for certain communities in Jamaica?
This mobile company now is great in every way you can think of, because we did services in some areas where, mothers just gave birth and they can't go out on the road, but they need their computer to be repaired because they have an online job. And that is where we come in with the mobile now, which will say, all right, we will come to you. You don't have to come to us. And every job that we did, they always say, listen, we love your reliability. You're very thorough, and trust me, we're going to recommend you to everyone. And there are certain communities that we definitely don't go based on bad experience in the past. And you will know where to go and where not to go. So we'll meet the customers where they're at. Half a Tree, Ligani, Stony Hill, Duane Park, that is the set area.
The automotive sector in Jamaica often involves deep cultural knowledge around maintenance, customization, and local mechanic traditions. How do you integrate modern diagnostic technology and formal technical training with the existing resourceful culture of local Jamaican mechanics and auto repair to train your staff and serve the community?
Here in Jamaica, what we face mainly, if you ask anyone what problem your vehicle give, the first thing they're going to tell you is the shocks and the light. So everyone has shocks problem. And that is where now we offer the lighting service, which some of the lights now, they bounce to the rhythm of the music. So that is one. And then now, often the customers, they need very bright lights on the road because they're complaining, boy, the light not bright enough, the road dark. So that is where we install these lights. And as we say, we'll come to you. We install fog lights, and for the dark country areas, that is where the light really make more sense to you on the road, because even though Kingston have a lot of street lights, you still cannot see the road.
Well, Damion, there is so much more to get into here, but we're going to take a quick commercial break. Stick around, audience. We'll be right back.
I can feel it, you know.
So now we see that the products, services, and expressions of our culture and creativity, like our music, our films, our digital products, our books, and our commercials, are created and produced and distributed through our cultural and creative industries. And we see that our cultural and creative economy looks at the bigger picture, how we turn that commercial activity and our natural tallow spirit into a diverse, structured, protected sector or economy. And then how we use that sector to develop sustainable societies. Why is it so vital for us in the Caribbean? Well, Caribbean societies at the moment are facing all sorts of threats and risks. Climate disasters, economic uncertainty, and now a whole lot more geopolitical tension. So we have to grow our economies and develop our societies to become more independent and robust. This sector, the cultural and creative sector, is our best bet for sustainable development and economic diversification at this phase of our development. And the data doesn't lie. Recent reports in Jamaica shows that the Jamaican creative economy contributes an estimated 5.1% to our GDP, and that's roughly 107 billion Jamaican dollars annually. That is higher than the global average of 3% of contribution to GDP. So suppose we were really taking it seriously, and suppose we were doing the things that you learn that you need to do in the Bachelor of Arts and of Cultural and Creative Industries. Suppose we were doing these things, we would be much further ahead.
We can definitely see that your business takes the tagline, "We meet customers where they're at," seriously. In addition to that, your company actively supports school and offers discounts to teachers, farmers, and domestic workers. Why is community engagement, which often involves donating time and a service, a core part of your Kingston business model? And how does this commitment ultimately strengthen your brand's cultural identity and long-term success in the Jamaican market?
We hope to inspire and change. So we hope that the community will pay it forward, right? We have discounts for students, farmers, teachers, domestic workers. They're often unseen, and underappreciated, and they're the backbone of society, and our children and food. So those who are cared for as our elders, it is important that they are seen and have access to technology and to working devices.
Awesome stuff. Continue to inspire and change. If you could whisper 3 words of wisdom to your high school self right before you started your career journey, what would they be? And how would you encourage yourself to overcome your biggest fear about the future?
All right. So growing up, I often see a big 3D and I always wonder, what is 3D? So that is where I sat and I realized that I always have the desire, the dedication, and the determination. And that is what you will need.
Damion, what would you tell high school students about how to get started in your career field?
In high school, I actually studied electrical installation. And while I was in class, that wasn't even my interest. I always have a headphone stuck in my ears. I listen to some music. So I realized that was my passion. And then now, my parents wanted me to become a tailor, which that wasn't my passion. So whatever passion you have on the inside, you have to actually follow what you feel and not follow what someone wants you to do. Because if you follow what a person wants you to do or want you to become, you will never be happy and comfortable doing that. And the key thing, you want to be happy and comfortable doing what you're doing. So if you want to do sound engineering, you have to turn up to everywhere sound engineering is happening. Do your research on it. You know, you can't just want to be a sound engineer, but you hear a domino play outside and you want to watch the domino. You know, you want to be around the sound. And if you want to be, say, a computer engineer now, you have to follow that step also. And you have to attire yourself, you know, because what you see or what a person see is what a person is going to think of you, right? So they see you have the desire and I do the work. I go and pull you forward and I go and say, listen, I can teach you this, but you have to be interested in it. You have to be dedication, have to come in play. You have to be determined, as I said with the 3D, and you have to have the desire. So the key is follow your dreams.
Damion, let's take time for chat. In this segment, each of our guests will tell us about their favorite Jamaican or Caribbean proverb or cultural reference. Damion, what's your favorite proverb?
My grandparents used to tell me that one cocoa full basket. So I was growing up thinking that why every minute I have to go dig some cocoa and try to fill up a basket, you know? And that wasn't really the idea. They was just trying to tell me that everything I do and hold myself accountable for, it will be a stepping stone towards greatness. You know, so with all the customers that S.E.T.A.S have now, we have faced a lot of great customers, but also a lot of customers that have not been so great. And in all of it, trust me, we deal with them on the same positive, wonderful level that when we finish, they just break down from what there was and say, listen, I am working with you. So now they're on board. And we start from nothing. And now we have repeated customers, you know, who keep on coming back and they're coming back and they're coming back. And when you see them coming back, they're recommending a person to us, you know, and once they do that with us, we start to help. So we help one school, we help another school, we help another school. So we help Freeld Primary, we help George Headley Primary, and then any other school that is there to help, we will definitely help them, because what we do is we're trying to fill our basket with all these different persons that we help to be a legacy that we, with the company itself, will leave knowing that, yeah, we did great.
And to that we say amen, because that was a word indeed. Thank you for coming to the Creative Frequency. I'm your host, Radika. Until next time, next place.
Join us next week while we connect with and interview Chef Candace Carr.
Creative culture, where the vibes meet the vision.
Special thank you to our guest, Damion Johnson. Host, Rachel and Radika Myers. Contributor, Dr. Deborah Hicklin Gordon. Our sound and audio engineer, Dr. Ray Hitchens. Musical selections produced and composed by Courtney Edwards, also known as Kingman. Our executive producer and editor, Rachel Ann Fenderson. And our ICS director, Dr. Dave Goss. The Creative Frequency podcast is brought to you by the Institute of Caribbean Studies, under the umbrella of the Faculty of Humanities and Education at the University of the West Indies, Mona. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or wherever you can catch us.